Hello viewers and welcome back to a brand new video racing classic Formula 1 cars from 1965 on the Suzuka circuit. What could go wrong? Pretty much everything. Starting on pole position with a 2:12.028 lap time, pretty much best of the rest, but it's not my overall best lap time. These classic cars are so hard to drive as the lights go on. It's lights out and away we go. Again, leading the pack, there's no one to stick to as I am the leader. Therefore, I'm gonna have to go semi-defensive to protect my lead and make sure I do not mess up the exit leading the next corner, because there are multiple consecutive corners which I will need perfect entry and exit in order to not mess up and lose a lot of time. Leading the pack through turn 1 and 2, preparing for the consecutive corner is gonna be quite difficult to keep him behind, because it's really easy to go down the inside of someone and push him wide, and in daily race A you don't lose sportsmanship rating, so people are more than willing to do anything to win. People go crazy in this race, especially that you don't lose sportsmanship, you don't lose anything. So basically you don't lose your rank. It's an unranked game with Formula 1 cars on a Suzuka track. And I didn't have to speak long, he already pushed me wide going down my inside. This is exactly what I tried to avoid, but it happened. Now I need to re-overtake him as fast as possible because I do not want to get distracted by other drivers. And many of the strategies people use to keep the lead is to purposefully slow down the people behind, the racers behind, to pack you up and keep you fighting. Now once you are fighting, it's very easy for him to piss off into the sunset and never be seen again, and it does happen again. I am the prime example of using this strategy. In many of my races I actually do use and utilize this strategy because it's just that effective. You just in the first 2 laps you pack people together and disappear, piss off, gone. And now I've sat behind him for long enough to know his weaknesses and advantages because I've sat behind him for pretty much 50-60% of the lap, which is pretty much decent. You have a lot of knowledge about the driver in front and you know where he's good and where he's bad, and you know where to overtake, where to not overtake, where he defends heavily, where he doesn't defend, and all of that stuff, because it's really useful. Sitting behind a driver pretty much makes you read them like a book. And this is one of the prime abilities you need to have as a racing driver. You need to be able to read your opponents in front of you and behind you, but reading an opponent behind you is extremely difficult because you're looking forwards and not back. But it is still possible because in Gran Turismo you have the radar, and through the radar you can pretty much see a lot of stuff. Now going through 130R, putting the pressure right behind him on his gearbox, leading to the chicane on the final corner, pushing hard on the brakes. I dive down the inside, he tries to shunt me, or he didn't see me there, I don't know exactly which, but I stay in front and I extend my lead bit by bit. I get the better exit and I'm leading into the first corner, the first 2 set of corners. Now being through the lead in these corners is extremely important because you can defend it or not defend it, and you can pull a switcheroo, which is extremely difficult. But again, in these lobbies people are willing to do crazy shit, and you can see he dives down the inside, goes wide, sort of wide, and then I'm just slowly nibbling bit by bit, taking the inside, pushing him again, because this is my revenge. He's been pushing me all time long. So I push him wide on the grass, extend my lead, and respectfully piss off to the sunset. Going through the set of consecutive corners, I don't know what they call them exactly, but they are they're extremely difficult to drive in normal cars, let alone Formula 1 cars. You need to be pretty much very sharp. You have to initiate perfect entry, perfect exit, perfect mid-cornering, perfect everything, which is not easy to do with these cars. And you can see everyone's making little tiny mistakes here and there, which quite add up a bunch for an entire lap. And talking about the mistakes in these cars, all it takes is one tiny misjudgment and you're out of the race. As you can see, going through the same set of corners, doing a tiny overcorrection, and I'm pretty much spun it out into the gravel. Now this is gonna send me back to P5, even though I had like quite a 3-second lead. It's quite disappointing to have lost pretty much everything here. You know, many people would have already vanished into the shadow realm and quit the race, but I decided to keep going because I actually quite liked fighting with these people. They don't seem too dirty compared to others I've seen, and believe me, I've seen dirty, like pure example of dirty drivers on this specific track and car combination. And believe me, this is why I'm lower ranked than I should be, because most of these races, some dirty guy pushes me wide, I have to quit and I lose my rank. Now going through 130R again, doing a tiny misjudgment, just this tiny misjudgment, pretty much turned me head over heels and lost me maybe 2 positions. Now here you saw the slow-mo footage of what exactly happened, and it could have gone much worse, I'll be honest, it could have gone much worse, but I'm chilling in P6, the Super GT natural habitat. But I'm not happy with P6, I should be in P1, but 2 mistakes have sent me back all the way to P6, so this is pretty much a salvage race. Now if you can check in the radar, the fellow Emirati driver is quite close behind, closer than would be comfortable, so he's gonna be pretty much ready to attack me for the next set of corners. one of us has got to mess up, because I know fighting, especially in these corners, leads to a lot of mayhem or chaos, whichever you'd like to call it. So I'm pretty much trying to avoid a fight here. If he's gonna overtake, he can overtake me now. I can come back at him later, because a fight here not only loses you so much time, it's pretty much a very big and unnecessary risk. And again, I'm in a salvage race. I cannot afford too much risks, because I don't want to drop back down all the way to P8, which is rubbing salt on the wound. Come on, like, I'm unhappy about a P6, so how mad will I be about a P8? Pretty mad, so let's not take too much of a risk here. And his pressure has kinda got to me, so I make a tiny mistake drifting wide, and I snap back to the inside. I had no other choice but to go there, and he dived on the brakes, therefore he's been hit out. Which I could have not done anything about it, because it's uncontrollable, these cars. When you're making a mistake, it's pretty much the only course I could have gone on. It's either that or I spin. And I'm not gonna choose option B, so it had to be him going. So still keeping P6, got two drivers, a little bit of fighting between them up ahead. The two fellow German drivers, so the more fighting they do, the better position I am to clutch back and finish in a better position. Which is the entire point of what I'm doing, a salvage race, because I was in P1. You can tell I'm a little salty, because knock knock, I am. Racing has its ups and downs, and when it's down, it's always either rage or rage. You don't have anything else. Most people get me, because you know, once you're in a competitive league, not this one, but generally speaking, you're in a competitive league, you're gonna break something. And I've broken many things. Many of my Instagram viewers have seen what I've broken. Now leading to 130R on the final lap, pretty much down to the last wire. The German driver up ahead brakes a bit earlier than he should have, and it ends up in me rear-ending him, which I do not feel bad about, because who the hell brakes there? You need to brake a little earlier. Just missing your braking point by, or being earlier your braking point by 10 meters is enough for someone to rear-end you, which is exactly what happened. I mean, I know you're a bad driver, but at least brake a little later is the easiest corner not to mess up. Anyway, finishing in P5, I'm a little heated up, so I take a bit to rest, I improve my lap time, and I go into the next race. Starting in P1 again, learned a bit of tricks here and there in the qualifying and improved my lap time by quite a bunch. As the lights go on, everyone is revving their engines and preparing for the cars to start accelerating. And it's lights out and away we go! It's incredibly difficult to mess up the start in these cars, because the cars do not have enough power to spin the wheels that much, so you're gonna have a tiny bit of wheel spin but nothing too much to worry about, so you can pretty much hammer it. Leading the back through turn 1 and 2, going semi-defensive and getting a perfect entry, and preparing for the next corner, getting the perfect exit. It's very important to get the perfect exit. As you can see, the expansion of the gap just expands so much by this tiny bit, which is gonna get closer in the consecutive corners, but it just gets closer and like compress and expand, compress and expand. It's this cycle, the vicious cycle of racing. Especially around this section of the track, it's just gonna keep compressing and expanding as they think they're getting closer, but the closer they get, they mess up the exit of that corner, so they get further. So you're just in that vicious cycle of compression and expansion. As we finish that set of corners, going into turn 8, I believe, I'm literally throwing my car into it. I'm just super aggressive on the line. I've had it with these couple of last races, so I'm just hammering it and I'm not ready to back down. This is my only chance of redemption, and I'm not ready to throw it away. I'm gonna keep pushing all the way to the end, because I was super fed up with so many races I've done. So many failures, so many incidents, so many dirty drivers, so many everything. So now skipping forward to pretty much the end of the race. Or not the end of the race, the end of lap 3. You can see German driver behind, Tom, is actually decreasing the gap and getting quite closer to me than I would be comfortable. And he spots my weakness right around here. He spots how early I am on the brakes and how I ride the brakes through here to pretty much maximize my exit. And he spots this weakness and he puts it in the back of his mind, ready to attack on next lap. And he's gonna keep attacking me all the way through this lap, but I won't go out without a fight, so let's see what he can do and let's see what I'll do about it. Going through the long sweeping right-handers of turn 1 and 2. He's late on the brakes, he sends it around the outside. I'm pretty chill, I'm pretty relaxed. I know I'll clutch it back pretty soon, and I'm actually clutching it back already. And you can see it's impossible to throw a car around the outside. And now he just messes up the exit and it just expands the gap. The vicious cycle starts again. Through these set of corners, you will see. He gets close and far. You can see it just goes. The vicious cycle just repeats again. It's really difficult to stay close consecutively on this set of corners. You will see he gets close in the mid corner, gets far on the exits. This is how it goes. Until the final corner of the set, which is this one, it's super easy to make a tiny mistake, and it's super easy to hammer it and send it down the other driver. But I'm actually quite ahead by quite a decent amount of a gap. Both of us throwing our car again into turn 8 or 9, I forgot what turn it is. It's really fun to throw your car here, and if you don't do it, you're losing time. So this is why everyone throws their car around there, because it's literally the meta. Leading to the hairpin, I'll take it nice, calm line, ready for the switcheroo, because I know the exit on this very long straight is important. And he does not send it down the inside, because he knows the same thing. The exit is super important. And I still get a better exit than his, but he's got the slipstream, which he will probably utilize against me on the straight leading to 130R. It's pretty much down to the wire. Only a couple of corners left, 4 or 5. Just entering the final sector on this braking zone, wrapping around the corner. It's a very tricky braking point, as you have to ride the brakes halfway through pretty much the entire turn. It's again a long sweeping left-hander this time, and this is why Suzuka can be the favorite and the not favorite of a lot of drivers. It's got a lot of weird, quirky corners that throw people off a lot, so you have to be quite skilled to enjoy these tracks. And now it's down to the wire through 130R, landing my braking point. He's decreasing the gap bit by bit. I got a better exit, but it does not matter, as it's all the way down to the wire to the final set of corners, the final set of 3 corners, down to the chicane. He spotted my exact weakness from the last lap and sends it down the outside and gets the inside on next corner. And it's pretty much a drag race till the finish line. Who's gonna win on top of this? I do not have the acceleration. I do not have the corner. He's got it. By 0.91 of a second, 0.97 of a second, he wins. Again, this race was super fun yet super intense. These cars are so incredibly difficult and beautiful to drive.